Everyone's seen the best World Cup goals, but what about the goalkeepers? A last-minute block or a penalty save can be the difference between glory and elimination. And some of these saves are out of this world, from scorpion kicks to saves of the century, from national heroes who live off cigarettes and booze, to goalkeepers labeled as clowns. These are the craziest saves in World Cup history. And starting off in South Korea, because whilst K-pop group BTS might be performing at the 2026 World Cup final, back in 2018, another Korean was wowing the football stage with his K-pop looks. South Korean goalkeeper Cho Hyun-woo wasn't even expected to be the country's #1 keeper going into the tournament, and with the Taeguk Warriors already effectively eliminated in the first two games, everyone thought Germany would stroll to a routine win against Korea in the final group stage game. But Choi Hyun-woo had other ideas. He made save after save as Germany failed to score in 28 shots and made a huge block from a Toni Kroos shot towards the end of the match before Korea scored 2 late goals to knock Germany out of the World Cup. After the tournament, his dyed hair and light skin earned Cho Hyun-woo cosmetics and beauty contracts, even if he never achieved his dream of playing in Europe. But this next keeper won't be selling hair care products, but he certainly was flamboyant, extravagant, eccentric. Well, basically, he was French. Fabien Barthez did what many thought was impossible. He replaced Peter Schmeichel at Manchester United, but for the France national team, his heroics helped Les Bleus go all the way to win the World Cup, conceding just 2 goals in 7 matches. In the final, he made a classic flamboyant save, rushing out and acrobatically jumping to punch the ball away and deny Brazil's Ronaldo a goal-scoring opportunity, but injuring the Brazilian in the process, which might have helped him keep a clean sheet in the final and lift the World Cup. And there's plenty of eccentric goalies coming up, including a guy who designed his own shirts, one who got sent to prison, and another who basically invented the sweeper keeper and gifted his opponents an open goal. And speaking of open goals, sometimes a chance will come along that seems impossible for a striker to miss, and that was the case for Chile's Waldo Ponce in their 2010 World Cup match against Honduras. In the 65th minute, Ponce headed the ball into what looked like a gaping open net, but somehow Honduras' Noah Valladares dived back across the goal to keep the ball out. But the shy shot stopper nicknamed The Secret couldn't prevent his team from elimination, as despite a clean sheet against Switzerland, Honduras failed to score in any of their games. And the World Cup has seen its fair share of eccentric goalkeepers, from Barthez to Andre Onana, who was so crazy he actually got sent home. But one goalie is fondly remembered for scoring goals and wearing incredible self-designed kits. Jorge Campos was Mexico's goalkeeper at the 1994 World Cup, where he saved the opening penalty of a shootout against Bulgaria with an impressive dive. But in typical Mexican fashion, they were eliminated in the round of 16 after 3 Mexicans missed their spot kicks. But maybe Campos should have taken one himself. After all, he scored 35 goals in his career. Not bad for a goalkeeper. And his colorful goalie kits were so iconic, they became must-have fashion items. But he's best known for his all-out goalkeeping style, where the penalty box seems meaningless to him. And where acrobatic saves are the norm, Campos doesn't play by the rules, he makes them. And this next goalie also doesn't play by the rules. Germany's Manuel Neuer once made a save so crazy, it changed the rules of football. Germany were playing England in the first knockout round of the 2010 World Cup and had been cruising at 2-0 when an England goal changed the momentum of the game. And seconds later, England's Frank Lampard hit a long-range shot against the underside of the crossbar, and the ball bounced on the ground before Neuer made an incredible stretch to grab the ball and pull it away from the goal. It was such a good save that everybody in the world thought that it was a goal, probably because the ball had crossed the goal line by half a meter. But the Germans' quick reflexes and fluid relationship with the truth meant that the referee saw it as a world-class save and not a goal for England. Neuer's heroics were later honored by FIFA, who created goal line technology to prevent such wonder saves from happening again. But being an eccentric goalie can be tough, and one keeper even got labeled a clown by English manager Brian Clough after a crucial qualifying match. But that clown was called Jan Tomaszewski, and he would have the last laugh as he had the game of his life to help Poland qualify for the 1974 World Cup. In that tournament, Poland very nearly reached the final, but they faced hosts West Germany in their final group stage game in what has been dubbed the Frankfurt Water Fight, as the ground was so waterlogged it resembled a swamp, and fire hoses were used to pump water off the pitch. Poland needed to win the game to reach the final, and Tomaszewski did everything he could, including making an incredible save from an Uli Hoeneß penalty kick. But unfortunately for Tomaszewski, the goalkeeper in the opposite net, Germany's Sepp Maier, was also having the game of his life, with his cat-like reflexes keeping out shot after shot from the Poles, and West Germany went on to win the World Cup while Poland beat Brazil to finish third. But while Tomaszewski had been labeled a clown, this next goalie was named El Loco, or the Madman. But the truth is that René Higuita changed football, becoming one of the first goalies who was comfortable with the ball at his feet, allowing Colombia to play as if they had 11 outfield players. But in 1990, it all went wrong in the round of 16 against Cameroon when Roger Milla stole the ball from him and scored in what was one of the biggest goalkeeping errors in World Cup history. Colombia were subsequently knocked out by Cameroon, and Higuita would miss the 1994 World Cup as he was in jail. But his most famous save was this scorpion kick in a friendly match against England, lighting up what was otherwise a rather dull game. And even though that scorpion kick was technically not at the World Cup, we feel we've got to include it here. But this next goalie showed the human side to the game by using the biggest moment of his career to honor a fallen friend. In 2018, Croatian goalkeeper Daniel Subasic made this incredible penalty save against Denmark's Christian Eriksen and followed it up with another couple of penalty saves to become the first goalkeeper to save 3 penalties in a World Cup shootout since 2006. He celebrated those saves by lifting his jersey to reveal a picture of his former teammate Hrvoje Čustić, a Croatia under-21 international who was playing alongside Subasic in 2008 when, during a match, he collided with a concrete wall next to the pitch and died, aged 24. Subasic wore his image on his undershirt for years to honor his memory, but FIFA didn't look so kindly on the gesture and banned Subasic from revealing the shirt in future matches. The USA's goalkeeping department is looking a bit sketchy these days, especially as their current number 1 makes this kind of error on almost a weekly basis. But back in the day, the US was stacked with top shot stoppers, and in 2014, Tim Howard produced a goalkeeping display for the ages. Howard almost didn't make it as a goalie because he suffered from Tourette's and OCD, so as a kid, he struggled to keep his focus on the game, but he learned to use his condition as an advantage, playing for Manchester United and Everton and earning the nickname Secretary of Defense. At the 2014 World Cup, he smashed the record for most saves in a World Cup match, making 16 saves in the knockout round match against Belgium, and even starting an internet trend hashtag things Tim Howard could save. At his heroic performance forced the game into extra time when Belgium found a way past him with Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku scoring in quick succession, as, unfortunately for Howard, the defense in front of him wasn't enough to keep Belgium's golden generation from scoring. And these aren't even the craziest saves, as still to come is the incredible Black Spider, a goalie who lost an eye and a save that made France's star player go insane. But this next save was a vital stop in the last minute of a knockout tie. But the craziest thing is, this save wasn't even made by a goalkeeper. It's fair to say that Luis Suarez has a bit of a reputation for controversy, and while he's just as famous for munching on opponents as he is for scoring spectacular goals, he also embodies Uruguay's win-at-all-cost attitude. In the 2010 World Cup quarterfinal against Ghana, the game was tied at 1-1 with 120 minutes on the clock. But Ghana were pressing, and in a last-gasp goal line scramble, Suarez made 2 blocks on the goal line, the first with his knee, but the second with his hand. Unfortunately for Suarez, he isn't a goalkeeper, so his incredible save earned him a red card and Ghana a penalty. But somehow, Ghana's Asamoah Gyan hit the crossbar from 12 yards, and then Uruguay won the penalty shootout to reach the semifinals, and Luis Suarez declared that he had made the best save of the tournament, although I'm not sure if Ghana's fans would agree with that. And in 2002, it was the USA who were on the end of some incredible saves when they faced Germany in the quarterfinals. In goal for the Germans was the legendary Oliver Kahn, known as the Titan or King Khan. He often rushed out of his goal and made himself so big that the strikers couldn't find a way around him. Against the USA, he made 2 spectacular saves. One, a low dive to fingertip a Landon Donovan shot around the post, and then, using his trademark huge stance, he saved a one-on-one against Donovan, which the striker would have expected to score. And Germany went all the way to the World Cup final that year before losing to Brazil. But while Oliver Kahn is a legend, this next goalkeeper is so good that they named the trophy for the world's best keeper after him. Russian goalie Lev Yashin is the only goalkeeper ever to win the Ballon d'Or. Nicknamed the Black Spider, the Dynamo Moscow and Soviet Union shot stopper won the 1960 European Championships and showed his skills to the world in the 1962 World Cup, making impossible saves like this one in the quarterfinal against Chile, where the striker seemed absolutely certain to score. And this incredible save came despite him conceding a goal directly from a corner earlier in the tournament, and in the following year, he was the goalkeeper for the whole world in an England versus the rest of the world match. And he told reporters the secret to his success was to have a smoke to calm his nerves and a strong drink to tone his muscles. And when it comes to saving one-on-ones in crucial games, not many saves get bigger than this next one. Iker Casillas first got his place as Spain's number 1 when his rival cut his toe on an aftershave bottle, but he quickly cemented his place as one of the world's top keepers, and Spain finally looked like they could break their curse and win the World Cup. But Casillas made an error against Switzerland, and Spain lost their opening match, but after that, they pushed on all the way to the final, and with scores locked at 0-0, Arjen Robben was through on goal and looked 100% certain to score, but Casillas stuck out a leg and somehow prevented a certain goal, and then he made another huge save from Robben, and Spain scored toward the end of extra time to win the game 1-0 and finally lift the World Cup. But this next save is so good, it's just known as the save. Italy's goalkeeper in 1982 was the legendary Dino Zoff, who had once come runner-up in the Ballon d'Or, and in 1982, he was captain of the national team. In the late stages of a crucial group stage match against Brazil, a free kick was whipped into the box, and a Brazilian player hit a rocket header toward the bottom corner. It had so much power that Brazilian players were already celebrating a goal, but somehow, Zoff got down low and not only saved the ball, but also somehow managed to catch it. That save led Italy to victory, and they would go on to win the 1982 World Cup, with Zoff being the oldest player ever to play in a World Cup final, showing that even at 40 years old, he still had insane reflexes. And sometimes a save is so good, you could say, stick it in the Louvre. And this next save could belong in an art gallery, as it is a Banksy. A Gordon Banksy, that is. Dubbed the save of the century, this save by England goalkeeper Gordon Banks is just insane. And so was his career, as when he was young, he worked as a coal bagger that built his upper body strength before becoming the World Goalkeeper of the Year 6 times. And later in his career, he would lose his sight in one eye, but still get named the best goalkeeper in North America's soccer league. But in the 1970 World Cup, England faced Brazil, and Banks made his famous save as Brazil's Jairzinho beat his man and crossed the ball to Pele, who headed the ball low toward the bottom corner. But Banks dived and pushed it up and over the bar, and afterward, Pele admitted that he thought it was a goal and also said he'd scored 1,000 goals in his career, but people only talk about the one he didn't score. But even Banks couldn't stop Brazil winning 1-0, and in the next round, Banks had an illness and couldn't play without him. England lost to West Germany. But the next save would make a legendary player so angry that he would end up ruining his legacy. Italy's defense in 2006 was rock solid, conceding just 1 goal from open play all tournament, largely thanks to the shot-stopping abilities of the world's best goalkeeper at the time, Gianluigi Buffon. His save in the semi-final against Germany has been named as one of the best saves of all time, as the game was goalless and Germany were on the ascendancy when Lukas Podolski hit a powerful, swerving shot that seemed impossible to save, but Buffon tipped it over the bar, and Italy later scored twice to reach the final. And in that final against France, Buffon was a brick wall. Nothing could get past him. And toward the end of the match, a French cross came in and Zinedine Zidane headed it powerfully, and it appeared to be looping over Buffon and into the net. But somehow, Buffon managed to tip it over the bar, and you could see Zidane's frustration at being unable to score no matter what he did. And minutes later, that frustration would cause him to headbutt Marco Materazzi and get sent off, and then Italy would go on to win the World Cup on penalties. And of course, our craziest save also happened in the World Cup final, but isn't it funny how Frenchman Neil Maupay never played for his country, but ended up costing France the 2022 World Cup? Argentinian goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez was stuck as a bench warmer for Arsenal when Maupay smashed into Arsenal's first-choice keeper Bernd Leno, whose injury then gave Martinez his lucky break. And he impressed so much that he earned a £20 million move to Aston Villa and became Argentina's #1. At the Qatar World Cup, he would make the craziest save ever, as in the last minute of extra time, with the scores tied at 3-3, Randall Kolo Muani went one-on-one with Martinez and looked set to win the World Cup for France. But Martinez made himself big and stretched out a leg to instinctively save the shot, and that meant the game went to penalties. Emiliano Martinez showed his gamesmanship by distracting France's penalty takers and then saving a penalty from Kingsley Coman and forcing Aurelien Tchouameni to miss his spot kick. So, Argentina won the World Cup, and Martinez won the Golden Glove Award, which he then held like it was a rude male body part, and Lionel Messi got a shiny black coat. I wonder if you'll thank Neil Maupay for that.